Hello, and welcome back to A Blessing in Divorce. I'm Elisabeth, and today I want to talk to you about what happens when we are expected to make some of the most important decisions of our lives while also experiencing some of the strongest emotions we have ever felt. Let's be honest. Women, we are emotional creatures. I happen to think it's a great thing. We are also strong, intelligent, capable, and discerning. Those things are not opposites. But during divorce, our emotions can become so understandably heightened that it becomes difficult to access the clarity and wisdom that is still inside us. You may be trying to make decisions about your children, your home, your finances, your future, all while also grieving your marriage. You might be frightened, angry, you feel betrayed, or completely overwhelmed, or all of those things. You may be an incredibly strong person and still find yourself reacting to a text message, losing sleep over a lawyer's letter, or feeling as though you cannot think clearly when another unexpected problem lands in your lap. That doesn't mean you're irrational, and it doesn't mean you're too emotional, and it certainly doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're a human being trying to navigate an enormous amount of change, loss, and uncertainty. So today, we are going to talk about how to honor everything you're feeling without asking the most emotionally activated version of you to make every decision. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of A Blessing in Divorce. I am so grateful to be allowed into your headset and day today. My name is Elisabeth, and I'm the host of this podcast and the owner and founder of The Separation Club, which is the club you never wanted to be part of, but the best club to be in if you're going through separation and divorce. Here we talk about how to heal, move forward, and find love if you're so inclined. Also, motherhood through divorce, finding yourself, and creating the life you deserve. Our tools are community, sisterhood, honesty, vulnerability, spirituality, and coaching, and that's when we aren't talking to our experts. I'm also a divorced mother of 4 adult sons, remarried, and a stepmom to 3. So we will be talking about everything that goes with all of that here. If you are recently separated, thinking of separating, divorcing, or even beyond your divorce, but still feeling it, then this is the podcast for you. Let's begin here by acknowledging the reality of what can truly pull you out of emotional equilibrium during a divorce. Maybe your ex is already with someone else. Maybe you're watching him or them go places you once went, or maybe even worse, places he wouldn't take you. Maybe he offers her gifts and attention and loyalty that you spent years asking him to give you. Perhaps he looks really, really happy. Not just okay, but like happy, as though your marriage ending has somehow set him free while you are still trying to understand what happened and put your life back together. Maybe he doesn't seem upset at all. He's going to work, he's seeing his friends, his family, making plans, and carrying on with his life while you are lying awake at night wondering how something that has completely changed your world appears to have barely interrupted his. Perhaps it isn't his happiness that is destabilizing you. Maybe it's what he's actively doing. We see them get on with their lives and it can feel like we've been discarded. It can feel like it never mattered, like the marriage never mattered. And he may also be putting you through a legal ringer. He may be delaying, withholding information, refusing to negotiate, or who knows, creating conflict and problems with every little detail. Maybe he's being financially controlling. Maybe he's restricting your access to any kind of household money, questioning every expense or hiding information, or using finances to frighten you into agreeing to something that just simply isn't fair. Perhaps every email from his lawyer makes your heart race. Every text message changes the energy of your entire day. And every unexpected expense makes you wonder whether you and your children will be okay. One of the things that really shook me in the beginning was the lies that he was telling about why our marriage was ending and also about me. He was just blatantly making stuff up. And that was really hard. Not only was he sharing some of that with my teenagers, so they were listening. And of course, with his family and his friends and his coworkers, it was just that really threw me off for a while. And, with them, he would come across as charming and also very emotional, like he was really suffering, to the point where his mother actually called me one day to ask me to be more like understanding of his mental state. Whereas, of course, the man that I was dealing with on a regular basis, like legally with the children, was so completely different from the story that she was being fed. Well, stuff like that throws you off. It really does. And then of course, they know the buttons to push to, again, push us off our emotional center, off and away from the place where we feel grounded and confident. So I'm not going to simply sit here and tell you to calm down, as though that will make any of this okay. Some of what you are experiencing may be deeply unfair and unreasonable. Some of it may require legal advice, financial support, stronger boundaries, or really difficult steps. The goal is not to become unaffected by what's happening. And I think it's important to know that. The goal is to become steady enough that the behavior of this other person does not get immediate access to your decisions. So we're not doing those knee-jerk reactions, but we're capable of seeing this coming, or as it arrives in our inbox or phone or on whatever. We're able to take a step back, take a deep breath, settle ourselves before we respond and make decisions based on it. When you are going through a divorce, your nervous system may experience a lot more than just the loss of a relationship. You experience the loss of something that's very familiar to you, your identity, financial security perhaps, a home that you've invested a lot of time and energy into, a family structure, and then there's all the plans and the dreams for the future, right? And of course, you're also grieving the loss of the person you once believed would be beside you for the rest of your life. This person may have changed so much that they're almost unrecognizable now. But that doesn't just erase the dreams that we had. So whether you wanted this divorce or not, your body may still interpret all the changes that are happening as some sort of a threat or danger. And that is how our nervous system reacts to that feeling. This is especially true when the situation is unpredictable in some way. And you, of course, might not be the only one who's being emotional here, by the way. So when you are feeling that sense of sort of unpredictability, and you don't know what they're going to do next, or you don't know when you're going to hear from your lawyer again, or what they're going to say, or what the decision is going to be. You don't know whether this person will cooperate, or maybe you do know that they won't, but that therefore you don't know what they're going to do. Like, the uncertainties are endless, and it's really, really difficult. And your nervous system likes things to be predictable, and divorce offers very little of that. So your mind starts scanning. What does this message mean? Why hasn't this person replied? Who is he with? What's he doing? What's he telling people? What if he takes me back to court? What if I can't afford the house? What if, right? We go down all the different what ifs. Your mind is trying to anticipate the next threat so that you won't be blindsided again. And this doesn't mean that you're weak. It doesn't mean you're irrational or incapable of making a good decision. It means that a protective part of you is working very hard to keep you safe. But, and this is important to hear this, protection and wisdom are not always the same thing. When we are in survival mode, when our nervous system is on alert, it wants to protect us. And so it wants immediate relief. It wants to send a message to do whatever it is that will make this feel easier in that moment. And that might be to agree to a settlement that isn't good for you, or to give in to, or maybe to fight back when you shouldn't, or to check social media 8,000 times instead of just putting your phone away. Wisdom is usually quieter than a very anxious nervous system. Wisdom generally says, let's wait until I can see this more clearly, or let's wait until I gain a deeper understanding of what is happening within me here. So this is what I really want you to hear today. You don't have to make decisions from the first wave of emotion. Strong emotions can create a sense of urgency. I need to know the answer right now. I need to figure this out right now. I need to do something about this right now. It tells you, like it just sort of yells at you that something must be done immediately. You can't stand for this for another second, right? But most of the time, you don't have to make one of these big, permanent, legal, financial decisions from this rather temporary emotional state, because these feelings will calm down. These feelings will settle. And that is when you can start to hear the wisdom, the more quiet wisdom within you, as opposed to the more panic-stricken, nervous system reaction, anxiety, alarm kind of feeling, right? And the thing is, you can hear something upsetting from your children, for example, without confronting this man in the moment, or you can read a proposal without agreeing to it right away. Like when you get to that calmer state, you start to see that you can take it in and wait. Nothing will happen if you don't respond to that email until tomorrow morning. And by nothing will happen, I mean nothing bad will happen. You can be angry or frustrated without acting from that place. You can be frightened, concerned, worried, all the things, without allowing fear to make the decision. And this is the pause I want women to learn to create. Not because your emotions are wrong or irrational or too much or anything like that, but because these big decisions deserve access to all of who you are, of all that all the wisdom you have inside you. Your emotional response carries a lot of information. It carries information like, this is scaring you, this is important to you, this feels hard. So that's information, but so is your experience. You know more than you think. If your friend came to you in the same emotional state about the same emotional problem, you would be able to sit down calmly and respond to her feelings and probably give her some very sage advice, some very wise choices. But when it's ourselves, it's a lot harder to do that. And that's why we want to pull back, listen to our experience, trust it, trust your intuition, know your values, and that you know how to consider what matters in the future. Just give yourself a little space, a little time to settle your feelings and your nervous system, so that you can hear the wisdom, you can hear the experience talking, and your intuition can guide you to what is the right thing for you. This pause could be 10 minutes. It might be overnight, like you need to sleep on it. That was usually me. It might mean sending a message to your lawyer and just saying, I need to think about this. That could be the only response you give right now. I need to think about this. And it might mean, and this was something I often did, calling someone where you can like kind of empty your feelings out and hear yourself talk. I had a very, very dear friend, still a very dear friend of mine, who was my sounding board when something unreasonable happened. So like one of those, I'd call her and be like, oh my God, you're not going to believe the text he just sent me, or what he's just told his lawyer, and whatever. And I would just rage about it on the phone with her. Like I would just empty my feelings, my opinions. I would talk. She was so good. She would just listen. She wouldn't say anything. She might ask a couple of questions, but she would just mostly just listen. And most of the time, not always, but most of the time, by the time we were done talking and I had heard myself do all that and emptied it out of me, I just came to the right answer. And so she would say to me at the end of the call, I think you have your answer. I'm like, yeah, I guess I do. So what I benefited from in that moment was a safe place to hear myself feel all the things. And then the clarity came behind that. Because when I emptied it out, I had space. I could breathe and I could think again, like think according to my experience, my intuition, and my values. And then I could make a decision. So I really want you to hear that. Like it's different for everybody what they need to do that. Learn what your thing is. One of the things that we do at retreats is learn many practices. We do lots of things. We have sound baths and yoga and restorative practices and breath work and journaling and dancing, and we do all the things. Every one of these practices helps you do exactly this. It helps bring you down. It helps settle you, ground you, calm you, get you back to your center, to who you are. And so when the women go home at the end of the week, they have tried everything. And, in fairness, they probably found some of the practices to be maybe silly or not right for them, or just didn't have value for them. Whereas there were other things they might have really loved. And so I always say to them at the end of the week, what are 2 or 3 things that you did this week that really had impact, that really felt good, that you could see yourself doing on a regular basis when you go home? And I want to make sure that they make note of that. They write it down in their journal, so when they go home, they can integrate that. They can start using those tools that they've learned and not just forget about it as soon as they get on the plane. That's such an important part of discovering who you are. It's like really making note of what works for you. So when we are going through these things, I think many women resist the idea of regulating their emotions because they hear it as another instruction. Oh, calm down, right? Oh, just settle down. Let's think, just stop being so emotional. Don't do this. We hear those old voices, and maybe we've heard it so many times from other people that we have started saying it to ourselves. And so we think that by being less emotional, we need to be less emotional so we can be more quiet, more agreeable, and easier to deal with. That it's you that's the problem because you're upset, not the decision itself. So they worry that if they don't fight this immediately, they'll be taken advantage of. Or if you stop pushing, then he will win. Or if you become too agreeable, then you will lose your strength, your resilience, and your stance, and your place, and your line, your boundary. But emotional regulation is not being passive. That's not what it is. A very regulated, calm woman, to put it that way, can say no. She can hire a lawyer. She can document what's happening. She can refuse something that's unfair. She can protect herself financially after receiving appropriate advice. She, in fact, knows where to go to get that advice. She can stop answering hostile messages. She can make big decisions with regards to her own life, her own mental well-being, her children's. She can insist that communication remain focused on, for example, just the kids. She can apply the gray rock method if necessary. She can walk away from a conversation that has become abusive or unproductive. Regulation does not ask you to give up your anger or give up what you believe in. Anger can show you where the boundary has been crossed, where something is unjust or unfair, or where you've tolerated too much. But once the anger has delivered its message, and you learn from that message, you need that message. Anger is very, it's important. You learn from it. Yeah, like it's information, right? But so once anger has delivered its message, you get to decide what to do with that information. What did you learn from this? Why did I get so angry? What is it that really is the problem here? Boundary was crossed. Okay, I need to work on that. Like it's you listening to the information that is coming from your body, literally coming from your body. Anger is in your body. The emotions are in your body. What does that emotion mean? Why is it there? And how can you benefit from this, right? So a reactive boundary might sound like, I'm so sick of you doing this. You always ruin everything. I'm never speaking to you again. That could be one reaction. Or a clear boundary might sound, and a more responsive boundary, one that has come after the calming down has happened, might sound more like, I will respond to messages concerning the children. I will not participate in conversations that include insults or threats. For example, it's just the difference between reacting in the moment and taking those 10 minutes or an hour or listening to that meditation first and then responding. That's the difference here. The second boundary may not feel as satisfying in the moment, though I discovered after a while that it did. It may not release the same sort of rush of anger, but you are giving him a lot less to work with, by the way, because they love pushing your buttons. They know exactly what to say to get you all riled up. And if you are giving into that, then it worked. And they can keep doing that. And it is in that emotional place that it is often easier for them to either delay, to drag things out, or to push you into something that you don't want. You get so frustrated, so sick of it, so tired of feeling this way that you start giving in because you just don't want to feel this way anymore. But what if you can regulate yourself first and then negotiate? I think you can tell, even just with this conversation, that that would make a difference. Your strength is not measured by the intensity of your reaction. That just means you're a feeling person. Sometimes your greatest strength is revealed by what you choose not to be pulled into. I got really good at this because I discovered if I didn't respond, if I did not let him push my buttons the way he knew how, and I was able to not let myself get all worked up about it, or at least if I did, I calmed down before I got back to him, it actually almost flipped the script, so to speak. Then he was the one who would get all worked up, and I would just not respond. I would just be silent when those tirades of text would come through or emails or whatever. I just didn't say anything because it was just him yelling at me basically via the written word, and I wanted nothing to do with it. And so really hear that sometimes strength is not in taking a stand and kind of biting back, but rather by choosing to not get pulled into it. So another thing that would be really important to do as you're trying to regulate yourself and deal with these difficult decisions is to separate facts from the story that fear is telling you. And this is huge. This is really big because fear is very overwhelming. Fear is very strong. It makes us believe that something really bad is happening. So when something upsetting happens, there's usually the event itself, whatever that is. And then there's everything our frightened mind adds to it. Maybe it says he must have someone new, or maybe, she's getting the better version of him and he never loved me. I wasted my life. Everyone will think she's better than me and I will always be alone. Like I'm unlovable, like those kinds of things. Or maybe, his lawyer has sent your lawyer a really unpleasant, difficult letter. And you might be suddenly now fear is telling you, oh my God, he's going to take everything. I won't be able to support myself. I'm going to lose my home and my children will suffer. Or maybe, he looks really happy. And now fear is telling you that you're the only one who's broken, that something's wrong with you and he is one and you will never be happy again. We weave so many stories that have no basis in facts at all. No evidence, no facts at all, simply fear. And so you have to remember that feelings of fear are not proof of the future. It is just fear. It's just an emotion. So when you notice yourself spiraling, try asking, what do I know to be true right now? Like, what can I prove? This is what I used to say this to my coaching clients. When you start feeling those feelings and fear starts spinning and you start thinking these negative things, prove it to me. Prove to me that that's going to happen. Prove it to me. Not just I think it is, it's going to, well, how could it not? I mean, prove it to me. And you'll realize that it was fear talking. So what do you know to be true right now? And what are you assuming on the other side? So what information do you need to make this feel better? What is the right, or who is the right person that you maybe should be talking to? Is there something that actually requires some action at this time? Or can you just wait until tomorrow maybe? And this is how we move from like fear and reacting and emotions to discernment and taking a breath and assessing and using our wisdom and our intuition. It's not that you're denying the emotion. The emotion is real. So listen to it. We allow it to tell us what hurts, what frightens us, and what matters. But we don't automatically hand it the steering wheel. We don't automatically say, okay, you, fear and huge emotions, you get to decide what I'm going to do here. We don't do that. So I want to bring up something else here that I think is also a really important part of this. And that is to stop using what he is doing, his behavior, to measure your healing. One of the most destabilizing things we do after divorce is continue to use our former partner as a reference point for how we are doing. If he's happy, then we must be doing something wrong. We're broken. We are, he's happier there, so there must be something wrong with me, right? If he appears unbothered, we question why we're still grieving, or whether they valued the marriage at all, and if they ever loved us. If he has more money or a new relationship or more exciting social life, we use that as evidence that life has rewarded him and punished us. But you do not actually know what his experience means. You only see what you see. You don't know what he's thinking. You don't know what he's feeling. Some people process the ending of a marriage long before they leave. Some avoid their grief by immediately filling the space. And this is pretty typical for men. Some are genuinely relieved and ready to move forward. And some simply present a convincing version of happiness to the outside world. He's not going to be telling you, of all people, you're the last person he's going to tell that he's struggling in any way. He's never going to tell you that. So stop looking backwards. Stop looking at what he's doing as some form of evidence of how you are doing. His new relationship does not determine your value. His lack of remorse does not change what happened. And his ability to carry on doesn't mean that you should be doing things differently. Your work is not to keep looking across the fence to see whatever he's doing better than you. Your work is to return to your own life again and again and again. Clarity is not something you either have or don't have. Sometimes it's simply temporarily obscured by the intensity of what's going on in your life. And I want to make this practical because regulate your nervous system has become a very cliche term that we hear about, but it feels vague sometimes. And it's an instruction that women or people in general are given, not just women, without necessarily understanding what it means. So the first thing you can do is name what is happening. You might say something to yourself like, I have just been triggered, or my body feels very uncomfortable or unsafe right now. I'm having a strong reaction, but I don't need to make a decision yet. Do you see what I'm doing? Like, name it, say it out loud, like this is happening. That simple acknowledgement creates a little bit of space between you and the reaction. And you know what? It also says to you, okay, I see this is happening. And I am not going to let this be the thing that wins. And then it allows you to bring yourself back to your body. Feel your feet on the floor. Do some grounding. Take a slower breath. Take a slower breath in and an even longer exhale. That signals to your body that you are safe. A 4-second inhale and a 6-second exhale literally tells your brain she's safe. When you are able to exhale longer than you inhale, your body is safe. Think about your breathing when you are afraid or you're running or something, But if you can go, if I have time to do that and I have the presence of mind to do that, I am okay. I am safe. So remind yourself that you are okay. And if possible, move the energy. So this is where things like walking, exercising, shaking out your hands, crying is really good. Writing things down, even if you never send it, that's what journals are for. Anything, dance, yell if you have to, if you're alone at home, sing, anything to move energy through your body and out of your body. And then ask yourself, what kind of support you actually need right now. The situation, what does it need? Do you need emotional support or legal information or financial advice? Or do you need some sleep? Like maybe you just need a good night's sleep. Do you need to document what happened? Or do you need someone you trust to talk to, like my friend, right? The goal is not to force yourself to be peaceful, and certainly not to yell at yourself or scold yourself for not being calm. Like, oh, here I go getting all emotional again. Okay. I am emotional right now. Why? What triggered it? And what do I need to feel better? That's productive instead of yelling at yourself. Look, I know your life feels probably chaotic or sad or upsetting or frustrating or all of those things right now. So I want you to remember this. You don't have to match the chaos or the sadness. You don't have to answer every accusation or correct every lie or respond to every provoking thing that is said to you. And you do not have to pretend that what is happening right now doesn't hurt. You're allowed to feel all of it. Your emotions are not evidence that you're weak, irrational, or incapable, okay? Which I know people love to say. And they are an understandable response to what is happening in your life right now. Divorce is incredibly disruptive. It shakes you to your core, absolutely. And it brings all these emotions into your body and out of you. The only thing you really need to take away from this is that before you make the decisions, before you send the message back, before you sign an agreement or confront a situation, give yourself the chance to come back into your own body and hear the wisdom beneath the urgency. Learn how to release high emotions. Learn how to find space for the clarity so that you can access it. It hasn't left you. All the wisdom in your body and from life, all the clarity, all the life experience, it all exists within you. And as I said earlier in this episode, if you were advising a friend, if you were the one listening to your friend saying all these things, you would know what to say. Well, that wisdom exists within you. You just need to give yourself time to bring it down to a place where you can hear it. Every time you pause before abandoning yourself or giving up on yourself or yelling at yourself, every time you choose a considered, thoughtful response over an immediate, angry, frustrated reaction, and every time you make a decision that protects the life you're building, you create more evidence that you can trust yourself. Self-trust is trusting that you know. You do know. You know the truth. You know what you need. You know what you're feeling. You know how to get the information that you need to move forward. You know. Trust that. Don't let an emotional day take that away from you. You know. You need to trust yourself. Your strength is already there, and your emotions belong there too. The practice is learning how to honor both while still making decisions that your future self will thank you for. So speaking of thank yous, I think it's time to wrap this up. I've been talking for a long time today, it feels like. So thank you for spending this time with me today. If you know a woman who's trying to make important decisions in the middle of an emotional and difficult divorce, please share this episode with her because she needs to hear it just like you did. And if you're still here, I thank you for listening. And remember, you do not have to feel perfectly steady to move forward. You only need to keep practicing your way back to yourself. And if I can help you with any of that, you know where to find me. There's lots of links in the show notes below. I want to thank you again for being here with me today, for allowing me into your day and into your headset. I wish you the most beautiful day.